Welcome back to the Tailosive EV podcast. And when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So,
oh boy, you were wrong, good sir.
Yes. Wow.
No,
let me
give
see.
you credit,
hang
Randy.
On. Before you say anything, I just got we got anything to talk about? EV9.
I was gonna say was it Rivian R1T is getting a new solar powered tonneau cover, which is pretty exciting.
There's that. What?
Where's that? I didn't see that.
You didn't see that? It's in your own Discord.
Stop calling it my Discord. I've been very
never there, Mike.
The Tello one. It was in the Tello one.
Oh, that's your Discord, Drew. Yeah.
Oh. Well. Okay. Hold on.
I'm sure.
Good morning, everybody. As you guys can see, this is the morning after a couple hours ago. Wow, that's really nice.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't get too much. It gets 650 watts of clean energy. I'm assuming per hour.
That's not a lot of miles because it's a Rivian, but 650 watts is great.
No, it's touted as a last mile one. It's also folding.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
It's a third-party company.
So a couple hours ago, a couple hours ago, as of we're recording this, bushy-eyed and the sun is beaming into somebody's eyes right now. It's early in the morning. Poor Drew's got frog eyes right now, but that is because he was up doing the Lord's work last night. So
there's something in the water.
So hours ago, not even 12 hours ago, as of recording this, technically not even 10 hours ago because they were late, we had a much anticipated Tesla event. And I'm going to ask you guys right from the get-go, how do we gauge the We Robot event to that of Cybertruck? Where are we at with that? Because we gauge everything by the Cybertruck event. In no particular order, one of you go. Go ahead. How are we gauging it?
So as one that did not get to watch the Cybertruck event live because this time, how many years ago, I was at a party and then got home afterward and took a look.
Wow.
This was a lot more exciting with a lot more interesting stuff going on in a very short amount of time. In which I like that a lot more than the previous vehicle announcement.
Yeah.
Compared to the previous product announcement being Optimus and all that. And other vehicles that have already been released. But with this one, I was pleasantly surprised with it. I liked the way that they introduced it. It wasn't a whole lot of fluff with the history of Tesla. Yeah, it was pretty much, I think, 27 minutes of them actually presenting. And then for the rest of it, I guess, giant chunk before, waiting on Elon and also medical emergencies, apparently. And then 27 minutes, I believe. And then a whole chunk of time afterward, just showing what's going on at the party. And I like that because it made people feel like they were included in it while also showing off the products that they only spent 27 minutes talking about.
They only needed 27 minutes. What about you, Drew?
Yeah, I think if your expectations were in check, it was a pretty impressive event. But if your expectations were to the moon, I see a lot of disappointment online. Like most Tesla events, it's kind of split. There's a bunch of people that are like, you didn't talk about the specs. You didn't talk about this. I needed more information on this. And I don't know. I've been watching Tesla for a while now to the point where I feel like talking about specs hasn't really done them many favors. So I kind of don't blame them for just being like, let's not dive into specs because all this is probably going to change anyway. So I think that's fine that it was kind of light on specs. I think the main point was that a Hummer ad you're getting?
Don't get distracted by that. I want to hear your thoughts, Drew. I didn't listen. I'd listened to the pre-live stream stuff that you're doing. And that's then fine. Like a sane person, I went and ate dinner and then did the dishes. And by the time all that was done, the event still hadn't started.
Yeah. No, the event was for reasonable reasons. Oh my God. I sound terrible.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
It was justifiably late, although it would have been late anyway, most likely.
Boy, this event is to die for.
My gosh, stop.
He's okay, by the way. The guy's okay, so we can make jokes.
Okay.
But it was a over hour long wait for a 20-minute presentation, which felt a little weird. But the actual presentation part was quite exciting because, as you guys remember, we were all debating on the last episode whether or not there would actually be prototypes without steering wheel or pedals, no driver. And not only did we get that, there were 20 of them. I was thinking we'd be lucky to get one,
I believe they
maybe
said
3.
50, right?
Well, there was 20 Cybercabs and then
Okay.
30 Model Ys that were running like early access software. Actually, I'm glad we're doing the podcast because I can tell you what my wife's thoughts were.
Oh,
Oh,
likewise. Go ahead.
They're quite hilarious.
Tell me.
We kept looking at the video of the Model Ys driving by that were on the special proprietary software with no driver, and she complained how the screens on them were in light mode at like full blast. She was like, turn that down, no one's gonna want to get in that, the screen is way too bright. And she just notices all the things that the techie people don't think about, but they're usually true. Like, she doesn't like the hubcap design. She was like, this feels like a 4-year-old drew a car and was
Wow.
like, look, I gotta drive my car, but the car will drive
Okay,
me everywhere.
Adam
And I'll make
Sandler.
robots that serve drinks to everybody at my
Alright.
party. When you don't have any friends, I'll build my own friends. And they'll
You had a little
dance.
bit of Malkovich going on there. It's like, I will tell you, I have no friends. No friends. That's some Malkovich happening right there.
But I think the design's beautiful, just for the record.
All right.
Agreed. It's
I love the
very
look.
Model Y shaped, even though it's pretty much the size of Model 3, from what I can tell.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
I wish more people had measuring tapes there. That
there
would
were
have been
people standing
helpful.
next to it that helped with understanding the size of it. Because
Yeah,
typically the
but
average height is around, was it 5'9" to no
you just don't
5'5" to
know.
6 foot or whatever.
This is similar to the R3, I'm sure. It's a kind of vehicle that you really probably can't get a feel for the size of until you see it in person. I don't know how big it is. It would have been nice to have some comparison, like park it next to the Model Y, but I don't think they were doing that.
Well,
They
people were
couldn't
having
park it.
to kind of not crouch, but squat to step into it,
Yes,
which
it's definitely low.
at least gave me the mindset of, okay, it's a lot smaller and shorter than something like a Model Y.
Yeah, hopefully shorter than a Model 3, but it's hard to tell. Again, they don't have a lot of great comparison shots on the website, or with people getting in and out of it, you don't know how tall they are, so it's doesn't give you a great. But you can see the light mode was on full blast, probably just to show that there's no driver on the inside. But Louise did not like that.
Yeah. What about you,
Also,
Randy?
she
Oh, go
said
ahead. Sorry.
the doors open way too wide. She was like,
Well, that's
why
what
can't they
butterfly
just
doors
open
do.
normally? I don't know. Most butterfly doors don't stick out as diagonally as those.
Right.
I think the mindset is that this thing isn't parking in a parking spot.
Clearly.
Like, pretty much with let me grab the photo. It's this one. They expect you to pretty much drive up to a location on the street, park along the side of the sidewalk, and then get out, and the doors open up all gracefully and
Mm-hmm.
everything, and it has enough breadth for people to get in and out. But yeah, it's an interesting thought for, or I guess complex mechanism for making it open that way, which is not something I expected.
What do you guys think of the texture, the color, the everything about the outer aesthetics? What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I love it.
You love
It's
it.
very cyber inspired, which I like.
Yeah. I want to
is
know
what I was
more
asking
though.
for.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a good blend between the cyber aesthetic and the S3XY lineup. Like it's curvy but also angular at the same time. So I'd like just sell that with a steering wheel and pedals, please. That's really all I'm asking for.
True, it's not happening.
Even if it was happening, I don't think they would mention it. I don't think they would say anything because it would Osborne. So
I don't think so. But Randy, I'm interested in what you thought.
One more before you ask me. I have one more question. Is it
Randy is
Robotaxi?
gatekeeping.
Is it Robotaxi or Cybercab? Randy is gatekeeping.
It's Cybercab.
The license plate on the pictures that they posted on the website, if you zoom in on the images, I should send them to you, Mike. One second.
Yeah, that helped.
It says Robotaxi, but in the Cybertruck font. So I really can't tell. But the website says Robotaxi. So I don't know what to believe. I guess it's Robotaxi. But...
And how do you pronounce the Robovan or whatever?
The way that they pronounced it was, I wrote it down, Robovin.
Robovin.
Robovin. There was
really
a swing up. Robovin. This is the Robovin.
My
Robovin.
wife is not a fan of the Robovin either.
Man, this is awkward.
She said, I don't care if it drives itself. I like to look out of where I'm going. The windows are handy.
But you're not looking where this is not meant to be. I see everything. It sees everything, and you just sit there.
Yeah,
right?
I get it.
But she's not comfortable with that.
She doesn't like that. It'd be like a train with no windows. Would you like that train?
Yeah, but this okay. I suppose so, or suppose not.
My claustrophobia, I might flare up if I can't look outside.
Oh, I gotta look at is strangers in the van.
And we're all breathing in the same fart air. I'm like, no, thank you.
She also complained here. I should also.
I got it right here.
I should bring up my. I've got a bunch of screenshots from the website. Yeah, if you zoom way in there, it says Robotaxi, but in the Franz spray paint font. Here, if I
welded
can share
font.
This. Yeah.
You think they made it look gold on purpose because they want to tease other options?
I don't know why they went with gold, but it definitely surprised everybody. Yeah, I think on the website it's more gold, and then in person it looked more silver.
Oh, I mean, for this particular promo shot, it's because it's in a warm hued room. So,
but there's promo here. I'll show you. There's promo shots that were not in that warm environment that were still gold.
Oh.
They probably added a warmer hue to it.
All right. If anyone's on YouTube, because I'll check the comments on YouTube, pull up that photo again. We're gonna
which one?
One of the ones you just showed where it's not in the room and it's still gold. Okay. Anybody on YouTube right now? I need you guys to help me out. Reach into your inner nerd. Which Pokemon Game Boy cartridge does this remind you of? Because I'm not remembering. Is this Pokemon Gold and Silver? Is this something else? I need somebody. I'm looking at this and immediately like, this reminds me of Pokemon for some reason. Somebody on YouTube, please help me out and give me a timestamp when I read the comments so I remember what we're talking about.
That is weird.
Thank you. Love you. Bye.
Okay, last relay from Louise is that the size of the Robovan in these pictures is not consistent. In some pictures, it's bigger than others.
You're talking about the giant toaster box. Whoa!
Yeah, I'm sorry. She complained how photoshopped this looked.
Oh, it's as good as the thing that I sent you last night with the
those were
Star
way
Wars
better.
Stormtrooper one.
Those were way. Let me find them. Get those queued up. I don't want to open my messages. It reminds me of Meet the Robinsons. I don't know why this lady's a ghost. Here they are together. But in certain images, it is definitely shorter than others.
Mm-hmm.
This one you could see at the event there. It was about just tall enough for a person to stand inside of, but then in one of these,
which means I'll have
What
a
the
lot of
heck
headroom.
is there? Is this supposed to be their service van?
I guess that's part of the reason I'm concerned is that this is a design that you really
That is
couldn't.
real gold.
Yeah, really. Put your kids in it. Woohoo! Yeah, the kids are going to be unsupervised children inside. They're going to attack each other. Anywho, there's
They'll
an
have a Tesla
angle
bot in there.
they had, yeah, where there's someone like standing inside it behind a bar.
Oh, using it like a what's it called? The service trucks or the food trucks. That's what they are.
Yeah, but like this person is either really, really small or just zoomed way away somehow. I'm like, I don't know how they fit way up there. There's a guy standing here.
Yeah, it looks
But then-
really big.
That one must be larger. But I guess my concern with the Rubavin is that unlike the Cybercab, this cannot be easily converted into a manually driven vehicle. And forgive me for being skeptical of Tesla's software timelines, but I feel like this thing, you could easily be like, okay, the software's not ready yet. Let's slap on a steering wheel and pedals and a couple of mirrors, and boom, now it's ready to be sold. Sure, it's maybe not as practical as a Model Y or 3, but it should be much cheaper, body colored roof and simpler design and steer by wire and everything. I love the storage space in the back, and I'm like, yeah, I could see this being an actual car with steering wheel and pedals that they could sell if they needed a backup plan. Look at how much storage there is in the back. Like, pretty practical.
Bodies back there.
You think they could put a third seat back there as well, facing the opposite way?
You probably could. Yeah, you could do a jump seat. You don't see it. Just use your phone. It's fine. What's the big deal? You don't need to see out of anything. But yeah, with the Rubavin, it's like, no, if you don't have autonomy figured out, you aren't driving that thing. It's done.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I got my version of it up right now, by the way.
Oh, let's see, Mike.
No, it's like a really big asteroid.
Mike, you might be onto something.
Or we got the vacuum.
That's beautiful.
Or we got the iron for ironing clothes.
Actually,
or we got the Oxford shoe.
Shoes with the star. Oh my god. Remember how they said they were going to make a quad runner with the Cybertruck?
Mm-hmm.
And that never happened, but we did get a smaller one for kids.
I'm still waiting for a quad.
So there's a decent chance we'll never get the Rubavin, but Tesla will sell accessories that look like the Rubavin to
I think
capitalize
this is a lot more likely to come out. The Rubavin vacuum.
I think you're right too. I think
looks
they'll make a bunch of
like it.
Rubavin accessories that they'll sell for, 400% profit margin, and they'll sell out in 10 minutes. And all the Tesla bulls will be like, I'm buying one. Did you get your Robo beer? It's like
your what?
I don't know. That you know how they sell a bunch of cyber themed accessories before the Cybertruck come out? It'll be just like that for the Rubavin, and all these things you're showing. But there'll be a little RC version of it that you can drive it around. It looks like the truck from or the toaster from Star Wars. All that stuff.
It is very. It's funny because we're talking the last podcast. Not to delay your response.
Take your time.
He likes it. He wants to build hype.
He wants to slam this into the ground.
We don't need to draw attention to it. It's just
he's waiting for us to get as high as possible.
Mike, just go with the flow of the conversation. Let's go. Don't need to draw attention to it.
Anyways, What was I getting at? Oh my goodness. So right now Drew is showing off the comparisons, and they're very
I see it.
dystopian comparisons with what looks to be Total Recall.
No, this is all iRobot. It's all the
It's
same
all
movie.
iRobot? Really? Okay. Wow. So they just
USR.
stole from iRobot. What was
Well,
it? Oh,
they
go
called
ahead.
the event We Robot, to be fair.
I guess so. So they just it's Tesla's version of it. I was
Yeah.
very surprised that they went with something that was very similar to what Zoox is going for with their vehicle, where we were talking about it and saying, oh, look at what they're doing in Vegas, where they're able to fit people like in a toaster box. And then they show off this Robovin or Robovan or wherever. And it's very similar in terms of the idea of their seats just facing each other. A whole gallery on the front and a whole gallery on the back, which seems a little bit cramped. I don't think I would want to fit 15 to 20 people in there. That seems a little bit crazy.
Hate that, by the way. I don't want to look at other people.
Yeah. And then also
I don't want to smell their breaths
or farts.
and their farts.
It's just our culture.
It's
I'm
so
sorry.
low to the ground as well, which
Yes.
this picture specifically annoys me because it looks like they're on a mountaintop in the middle of nowhere. How the heck did this thing get up there?
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking.
I guess there's
I
a
was
table
just
there,
like,
which makes me think it's somewhat cared for there. So there's probably a road up to it, but like you're gonna take this giant van. It looks like one person and their dog. It's one person and their dog going all the way out here with their giant robot. Makes no sense.
no.
This is just them trying to show off, hey, here's some ideas that we have. And the same thing happened with the Cybertruck, right? Here's an idea for camping. Here's an idea for off-roading it here, off-roading it there, all that stuff.
They're dreaming.
Yeah, it's all dreams, in which that's, I think, what I'm trying to get at is that these are a lot of interesting ideas. I'm waiting to see what happens because the only place I see this thing roving around is in like the middle of Austin or San Francisco or Phoenix or something like that. Also,
Just
where's
the company?
There's no climate control here either. Like the
that's true.
Robovan is going to have to predict what a comfortable temperature is based on the ambient temperature, and you don't get to control it, which is a little bit
the more
more
reason
like,
I'm a fan of private transport.
right. Where at least with the Cybercab, I'm a little bit more of a fan of because it's a little bit more personal. But I think there's a lot of shortfalls, which I want to get into after I want to hear from Randy and his thoughts on this event.
You keep dragging.
22 minutes, Randy. We're 22 minutes into this. What did you think of the event?
Nobody cares about my thoughts. We don't have to answer it right now. Just let the conversation flow. We'll get to it when we get to it. What else were you going to bring up, Mike?
We know because when Randy starts, he won't stop. So
I think he just doesn't want to comment on it. But here's some things that, since he is deflecting, he doesn't want to talk. Here's some things that we got right.
Okay.
The fact that in the last podcast we predicted, or at least I predicted, that it's being held on Warner Brothers lot. So it's likely that they're just going to drive the taxis around it. And that's what we got. We got cars just driving around this lot as if it was a city, which I enjoyed. What we were wrong about was the fact that the Cybercabs or robotaxis didn't have steering wheels. Nope, that's the toaster. They didn't have steering wheels, except for the Model 3s and Ys, in which those aren't really the product that they're trying to show off. That's more of an accessory to the idea. Which I'm pleasantly surprised by. And Drew, you were right. You were right. They had no steering wheel. And I'm very impressed. Even though in some of those shots near the end of the live stream, it looked like they were clustering a little bit more and more. It went from nice, even, orderly lines to nice, evenly tandem. No. Vehicle behind vehicle lines to then vehicles very staggered, trying to get around each other, but not knowing what to do near the end, which made me think that there's a little bit too much discourse occurring on the Warner Brothers course that they drive, to where the vehicles are just trying to figure out what to do. And while it's only they show it's like a 1 or 2 lane road, but actually it's a very wide road. But even so, if they're just taking up the whole road, it's a bit
Give us
A
a
bit worse.
4-lane road, and we'll treat it like a 2-lane road, just
Yeah.
in case.
But yeah, so we got that right / wrong. Along with that, I wanted to find, but I guess, have we even talked about the specs for the little amount of
What
specs that we got?
specs? What are there?
The
They said
alleged
nothing.
price of the thing.
Yeah, I don't buy that at all. All he said was under 30,000, which is very vague.
I believe you said around 30,000, but yeah.
And there is like regulatory spaghetti before they're able to sell these to individuals. It's one thing to get them legal, period. It'd be a whole nother, Waymo doesn't sell you a Waymo. That there's a whole different line of regulations and laws that would have to pass. I mean, there's many states where Tesla can't sell directly to consumers a regular car. So the idea of Tesla selling a vehicle without mirrors is already not legal. Now add into that a vehicle without steering wheel or pedals is like, I don't think they're going to sell it without steering wheel or pedals in the near future. Like, I think that could be decades, maybe never, depending on how hard the software is or regulatory approval is. But yeah, the specs would have been nice. I mean, they Elon stupidly skimmed over the inductive charging part of the PowerPoint. I don't know if you saw that, but there was a video showing how it worked, and it showed the kilowatts counting, and he clicked through it. No one could see it, and everyone was cheering in the crowd. And I was like, "Cut to that! What does it say? I can't see it."
That was a part of the presentation that I was a little bit surprised by, the fact that there is no port. But along with that, the
bad idea.
I don't think I'm scrubbing through, but pretty much they had the return of the snake charger. But instead of charging, it's now cleaning.
Yeah. The snake cleaner. That was my wife's favorite part. The only robot she wanted from the whole event was the automatic vacuum machine.
There we go.
There it is. And it even picked up the empty water bottles. I don't know if you saw that.
Also changed the nozzle as well for cleaning underneath the seats, and then also cleaning the screen.
It's not going to clean vomit very well, but any kind of dry debris.
Yeah, which is what I also noticed with it, is that it it had an addressable solution for someone spilled Cheerios on the ground, but it didn't have, which this isn't really for kids, I guess, either, because you can't really put a kid in the front seat.
Why not?
There's safety regulations for that, Drew.
Yeah, but they can't legally ship this now, so they're gonna have to change all kinds of things by the time it comes out. So,
right.
What are the kids for the Robo bus or what? You put them in there.
I guess they're only allowed to go on the Robo van.
I mean, I guess it depends on your definition of kid. I was thinking kids that wouldn't be in car seats.
Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking about
the laws today. You have to be like a certain height and weight. So basically, when you're 14, you no longer have to be in a car seat.
Yeah, anyone younger than me is a kid,
and Drew's still in a car seat.
You guys just don't see. He takes that right before the video starts.
Mike, how do you feel about no charge port? I want to talk more about that.
So at first, I flip-flopped 3 times or maybe 2 times. At first, I thought, this is a really silly idea. How are people going to charge this thing? Are we going to have to install just robotaxi only inductive chargers for the thing, or something else? And I was thinking, if people own these things, do they have to buy an inductive charger and then somehow put it in their garage or outside their garage? And then I thought, well, actually, it's not a bad idea, because then you're not clogging up the superchargers. So it's its own dedicated thing that will have its own dedicated system. But then I just flopped back to, that's going to be a lot of inductive superchargers or I guess inductive, it's not even superchargers. I don't know what they want to call it. Just inductive.
I would have liked to know the speed, but someone clicked too many PowerPoint slides.
We don't know speed. We don't know even the location of the inductive charger, whether it's on the front or back. From what I can tell, you think it's on the back?
In the video before the stupid event speaker, whoever his name was, I don't remember. He skipped through too fast. You could see it backing up over a charge pad. I'll try to find it.
Okay.
And pull it up here.
One thing I did find that was actually a little bit funny to tangent off a little bit was the fact that we joked that they're going to be throwing steel balls at this event.
Yes.
And they actually did one better. They let people slam a sledgehammer against the Cybertruck as like a thing you can do here in the Warner Brothers lot.
I bet that pink on the hammer is made of Floam or something. Anybody
really
remember
winding
Floam? Or is that too old?
Floam's great. It's like the one with the little beads, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anybody remember Flubber, or is that too old?
That wasn't a product, but yeah.
I just watched Flubber, actually.
Really? Okay. But yeah, I would say in summary, Randy and I were maybe a bit too harsh on our predictions from the last podcast, which is fine because that set us up for being pleasantly surprised for this one. And it was, I would say, something special, even though it was only 20 minutes. And there's still a lot of unanswered questions. And
yes,
oh boy, if you wanted to own a couple of these, like where do they park? Where do they charge? What do you do with them? And like, there's way too many questions to answer in regards to what is going on with this product.
So I'd look in the top left corner here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I've got it actually right here.
Oh, well,
I somehow captured it without paying attention.
You can see it backing over the
for 2
pad,
seconds.
and then it says energy added, charge 35%, and then something here, 25 something, I don't know. And before he can, it says energy added. Before they could cut to the screen, they cut back to him. And then by the time they show the screen, it's already on the cleaning bot. So great job, Tesla.
Good job.
Jeez.
So it's probably on the back, but I just think the fact that we just got the entire industry to move to NACS only for Tesla to is like, is the EU okay with that? Like, are they going to allow
When's
that?
this thing even coming to the EU, right?
We were all worried about a portless iPhone. Yet here's a portless car.
You were saying before a portless Aptera could probably work for you.
Not anymore, but for some people probably. No, I drive too much now. Like with all my road trips to the Bay, I would need a way to quickly recharge. I guess it doesn't hurt anything to have. I guess that's why I'm confused. It's not a very complicated part of the design, unless, again, would have liked to know more details on this, at least from the manufacturing side. If their mindset is we don't need DC charging, period, and we're purely relying on slow inductive charging, and that saves on battery management costs because it means the battery's never going to get that hot, and that means it's also not a road tripper. So whatever the range of this thing is, that's as far as it goes, and then it's got to stop and take hours probably to recharge, or maybe 1 hour, depending on how fast inductive charging is. Again, would have liked to know some specs on the inductive side of things, but I thought for a while maybe their mindset is it'll be faster if we just build out some inductive charging stations that are just for the taxis, and when the robo-taxi gets low, it parks, starts charging, you get out, get into a fully charged taxi, and then keep going. If you don't have a lot of cargo, I could see that working, but usually when people road trip, they're packing some luggage, or they're packed. Like for me, when I'm driving to Tello and back, I've got some equipment. I would hate it if I had to move all the equipment every time the RoboCab. God, I hate these names. That every time the Cybercab got low, I had to move all of my tripods. Yeah, Cyber Taxi. How many different combos can we think of? I was surprised how big the screen was. It's massive.
Oh, geez. Too big. It's a big
Boy,
step.
that's narcissistic of this vehicle. It has you pull up the screen, it's a photo, a still of itself. Narcissist.
Have you
Did you
looked inside
notice-
your own car?
Mine's lying. Mine cross dresses.
I like the UI though.
There's
The
no
whole, like,
window switches either in this thing.
no, it's in the. I'll show you. It's in
It's
the
in
center.
the screen.
No,
Oh.
that's actually what Aptera does, but so don't get too upset, otherwise I'll be mad. Let me find.
Oh, I see it now. I
Oh,
got a
God.
photo.
Oh,
God
you found it.
forbid.
Yeah,
No.
they put the window switches in the center. Someone kept telling me on my comments that it's a bench seat, that it's a 3-seater, and I'm like,
I don't want to sit on that.
it's got 2
I
holes
might.
for your
Randy, don't.
Just to
for your
feel,
cups.
just to feel alive.
I'm assuming that this is like a trigger situation for getting out. There's like a little door opening trigger behind this handle here. Or maybe
I
you just
didn't
grab
see
the handle
one.
and it senses.
No, I think you literally just when it arrives, it opens, and that's it.
So you're locked in
Yeah,
the emergency situation that there's an accident on the road, or you just want to get out and you're stuck at a stoplight.
I'm sure they could put something on the screen, but yeah,
At least in like a yellow cab or an Uber, it's like, I want to get out. I want to get out. They're like, oh, okay, I guess. See you, bye. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
you could hit like cancel, and then it'll pull over and the
Oh,
doors.
so it's all on the screen. What happens when the screen does the same thing as Randy's car?
Too
You
soon.
do it on
Mike.
the phone.
Low
Do
blows.
it on the phone.
Low blows.
The phone app will say like abort.
Go.
Just
Abort
giant
mission.
red button. Abort.
But what if
Like,
you live in
pull
a
over
red
now.
state?
Stop.
Well, according to Elon, all the states will be. No, never mind. I'll hand it to Elon as much crap as I gave him.
Yeah,
He didn't
not a
get political.
single Trump talk last night. I was
Thank
waiting
goodness.
for it. I
was
had my
hoping he
aviation
didn't.
jet ready to take a shot every time he said, something political.
He was actually, aside from the PowerPoint shenanigans, he was fairly put together. He didn't stumble too much.
No. It was
His
mainly the
Adderall must
audience
be
that
kicking
was
in.
right. It was mainly the audience that was derailing him. I think near
Yes.
the
Yeah, I love you
beginning
too.
third of it.
I love you too. I love you too.
For a Tesla event, it was fairly well put together.
Not as much jumping in the arms like this as I was expecting. Yeah.
Yeah, no, as far as the Tesla event goes, I would say, especially for the people that got to attend, seemed like an amazing event, 10 out of 10. But as far as forward-looking statements, the whole event started with that giant disclaimer. It's like a giant wall of print that says,
You
Forward-
can't sue us.
"You can't sue." Like, I ain't buying any stock. Even if it was half the price it is now, I ain't buying any Tesla stock because of this event. Like,
Yeah.
I am highly skeptical of anything really coming to fruition. My biggest excitement and hype is the concept of maybe that car getting a steering wheel and pedals. That's what has me the most interested.
All right. I am ready to tell you what has me interested and uninterested.
38 minutes in.
Munch me, Mike.
Still better time than Elon.
Yep. I was trying to go for an Elon time, record here, but no. So as of recording this, when we got started, actually doing it right now, I have it up. The stock is down 8%.
Should have sold.
Not surprised.
No, I was not going to sell. Yeah, no. Every event it drops, but that's because you got short sellers, and the stock will bounce back as it always does. I took a mental note of everything you guys were talking about, even with my own questions. So if I forget something, remind me or bring it to my attention. But starting with on the scale, I first asked you guys about how does this compare to a Cybertruck event, because that is our standard there, the staple. And out of all the events, this is probably the second best event I've ever seen from Tesla, I would say. However, I'm only talking about the event. One, because my expectations were low. Two, I'm glad I was wrong. Whenever I come out cynical about any of this, and even when we talk about on the tech podcast, it's I want to be proven wrong. Give me a reason to prove me wrong. You know, like I've seen enough to have my stance where it's like, well, no, I feel pretty good in my answer here. But if you by all means, if you even remotely over deliver, like, oh, that was good. But I could say, like, objectively, my own stance aside from what the predictions were going into this, I think it was a really good event. It was short, it was concise, it was very clean for a Tesla event, not really derailing anything. And they introduced products. They had a one more thing, and they were very future focused.
The glass didn't shatter.
Nothing shattered.
No one cursed, so they
no.
had to take the stream down after the fact.
Amazing. So, and they had great demos overall. They did great demos with having people get in and also interact with the robots, which was, you know, kind of awkward, but it was a great for showmanship, good showmanship.
They were very responsive, which I was very surprised by with a lot of the robots. To like, there's one clip of someone initiating rock, paper, scissors, and it immediately started doing rock, paper, scissors.
Oh,
like it's somehow recognized.
Did you know they were controlled by people?
No. Were they?
That's
being
what the
half
kilowatts
serious.
is saying. They're remotely controlled.
Then why didn't they let people touch them? I guess because they just didn't want people touching the bots, or
because they're probably like 2 million a piece. I don't know. Like I don't know what they cost, but people were saying that they're talking and there's someone like in a computer that's watching the camera feed and moving the hands and stuff. But it's just meant to be a proof of concept type deal.
This whole event was a proof of concept. And, I'm still, unfortunately, I'm still very cynical after the fact with everything. I asked you guys another. Oh, is it a robo taxi or cybercab or a cyber taxi robo cab? Is it a Robovin robo? Like, I think these guys are what do they call it? I think they're binary. I think they're really they thems. It's interchangeable, the names. Call it whatever you want. You're right. You know, be consistent with your inconsistency on what we're supposed to call this thing, because I think it's going to change either way. I like the overall like aesthetic of it. I think if anything, we got a glimpse of what the cheaper models could eventually become over anything, getting an idea. And it won't look anything like this. But one thing I do get behind, I'm like, okay, I can see this happening, is the head beam, the Cybertruck straight beam across. I can definitely see that happening. Not the suicide doors or the wing doors or anything that opens up like that. I don't see that sticking around to production model for the most that the people can buy. I just don't see that being a thing. But
I love how it just cut to, we still have a long way to go.
No, we don't.
I was like, yeah, you do.
The van, you know, I'm a dad. We're parents around these neck of the woods here. We love a good van around here. We love sliding doors. If anything, the van was the only thing that really interests my wife. She was like, I like to see what comes. I would like to see what comes of that.
Interesting.
Mine laughed at it.
It's the only one that's remotely interesting, is like, what will come of the van? That's the only thing that caught her attention. What will happen with this?
She's a big fan of vans. I found.
Well, she's a fan of, she likes sliding doors. And so if it's not the Falcon wings from the Model X, sliding doors just make practical sense for having the most accessible amount of room to get in and out, or putting things in and out. So
I like the van. I like vans. I just don't like that van.
I didn't say she is interested to see what comes of it, because she's been burned since the bus, the Volkswagen bus. She knows, like, whatever you see, what's it really going to look like? This, he says it's going to look like this. He made it a point to say it's going to look just like this. You know, he made it a point to say what you see is what you get. And so far, his track record's pretty good about that. You know, it's not a proof of concept where it's going to be radically redesigned. So, I believe that it's going to look something like that, but what utility it offers, because we can buy this van. This is something else we'll be able to buy.
I don't think they confirmed that, did they?
I've
They confirmed at least for
think-
the Cybercab that you could. But then
No,
they just unveiled this thing.
he made mention of, well, I don't know. Well, there you go. Even more reason why I'm more skeptical outside of proof of concepts. But I
They
think
showed like people camping with it, right?
Yeah,
They
it's-
said for personal use. So
Yeah,
I assume they would let you buy it. But again, that's assuming so many regulatory things change.
the big wheels on the back of the Model 2, as I'm still going to call it, the big wheels will be, if you notice, as
Keep
Drew was,
that neighbor going.
yeah, it's going to be the Model 2. We're calling it the Model 2. here. So, as Drew was talking about, inductive charging is in the back. So, because inductive charging is in the back, that's why it's shaped the way it is with the bigger wheels in the back. All the charging and everything happens in the back.
You think it's that?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I do. I'm as confident about that as I am about there being a steering wheel and pedals in the car. But yeah, I do. Like to me, it makes sense. It backed up and it's kind of stopped right there. The inductive charging of it all, like to me, that makes the most practical sense. And yeah,
I was like, that's so absurd. Let me tell you why you're wrong. And then nothing came up in my brain as to why you could be wrong.
because I'm right.
Because I'm like, yeah, I guess the axle would be low if it was the same size as the front wheels. And then there wouldn't be.
Assuming there is an axle. Is this a
Ugh.
tri-motor, dual motor, single motor? What is this thing?
Well, I assume it's a single.
I
motor.
like the idea of inductive charging, by the way, because if this is the future that they want to push, then yeah, it's gonna run off and do it. It'll drop you off, go do its thing, and then it's just charging the whole time, and then you get quicker turn.
But we don't need parking lots anymore.
You're gonna turn the parking lots and the charging
Just plant
lots.
trees everywhere.
They're charging lots now.
Except it takes an hour to charge. We'll
So
find
you're
a place to
parked.
park.
So you're parked at the charging lot. And just for continuity, we're gonna call it a parking lot for charging. It's just called charging.
They'll charge underground. The boring company will.
That makes a lot more sense.
Well, the idea of inductive charging as an alternative, I like, but I do not like, which I do not believe, to be honest. Between you and me, because no one else is really paying attention, I think there's still going to be a charging port. I think it has to be. I think there's going to be some manual override of sorts, but I think
if they sell it to customers, yeah, I agree. But not if they're doing some like Waymo style. It's here in this city. There's only 20 available.
I think eventually it'll get to that, but I even think a first gen it's going to have a charging port. I think the ramp up for it, this whole like under 30,000 thing that Elon said, once it's ramped up, like that, like once everything is stabilized, not in the coming years. And he says 20, like before 2026,
2027.
It's they got to do the foundation series.
No.
Do they come with
No.
FSD?
Comes without FSD. Imagine one that doesn't. How do you? So that's
why
my
they're
other
pricing
thing.
it in. It's a
Is what
$22,000 car with 8,000 FSD mandate.
I'll let you finish, Randy, but I've got a whole lot more skepticism towards this thing as well.
I don't think this is. I think this is going to be the most redesigned proof of concept we're going to see. Like those hubcaps are going to change. Oh, speaking of, real quick side note, this week my hubcap just flew off for no reason. Somebody had to drive up. My wife took my car, but somebody had to drive up to my wife and say, "Hey, your thing fell off," and so she had to turn around and go find it.
She
So
said,
just
"Mary,
my thing fell off. My ring fell off. Your thing fell off. My ring. No, thank you. I'm married. Yeah. So hubcap fell off. So that's the thing. I don't think the final version is gonna look like that. And I'm the reason why I'm skeptical is because this looks a lot like what they try to make the Roadster look like, and we haven't seen what the Roadster is actually going to look like. So I
remember the Roadster?
No, I don't. Not even remote. Not even remotely.
Drowning.
Nope. So this looks very Roadster like over anything else, and I'm just like, that's your first indicator. It's not happening. That's so from the side it looks like a I didn't think you could make a Model 3 and a Model Y have a hybrid, but yet here it is.
Yep.
That's the most Model 3 Y vehicle I've ever seen. This would be great as a consumer vehicle. Put some door handles, have some buttons, fix the charging.
If you changed everything.
That's what I'm saying. It's going to change. That's my point. This
True,
whole
this
thing's
is the
gonna change.
two-seater roadster that you were talking about.
Yeah.
No,
It just
I agree.
needs all the other things that make it a drivable vehicle.
Yes, I don't think it needs much though. I wouldn't say it needs door handles. I would make it super because you don't want to cause an Osborne, right? So it has to kind of be intentionally worse than a Model 3 or Y. Otherwise, people are just going to keep buying this because it'll be cheaper and cheaper to run and everything. I say keep it as Robo-esque as possible. So they'll have Cybercab and Cybercar or something. And the Cybercar will be just steer by wire, and it can be a sucky wheel. It's not a round wheel. I want my round wheel. No, it's cyber. So you take it or leave it. And there's no rear view mirror. It's just a screen. It's just the main display, just like the Cybertruck. You just have to look at a digital recreation of the rear camera and keep it as bare bones as simple. Velcro some side view mirrors that you can easily kick off.
Hey, you
or
fell off.
a butterfly could knock them off, and sell that for super cheap. And yeah, that I would love it. I think it'd be great. I would totally be interested in one. I don't know if I would take it over an Aptera. It'd be a close call, but
I was going to ask you about that because this thing has the perfect slope on the back for those curved solar
I
panels.
know. Why wouldn't they put solar on that thing? It'd be perfect.
Patent pending.
It'd probably
You
get
could-
20 miles a day.
I was going to say you could really dive into the idea that there's no port on this thing. It either inductively charges or solar charges. And
Yes.
the solar charging would be a lot more efficient than the inductive because the inductive is just going to cause a whole bunch of heat to occur. At least the solar will pump in a bit more, I would think, in terms of, I have to do the calculation.
Well, it's
which I'm not going
passive
to
too.
do.
So you
it's
don't have to
passive.
go park at the charger, even if you're just going in loops around the football game waiting for someone to pick you up. You could be charging.
Or at the airport.
Yeah, exactly. It could be wherever you are. That's true wireless charging. Is charging
Solar.
from sunlight.
Or you make the ground all inductive so that it just charges wherever it tries.
I think Sweden was trying that or something. Some country in Europe
so
was experimenting
expensive.
with that. It's a very bad idea. Yeah, it doesn't scale at all. But Dominic tweaked it a little bit on Twitter here. I thought it looked pretty cool.
He made it. Oh, he did exactly what Randy wanted. The door handle. There's a little.
It's a little
ducktail
lower.
spoiler on it. The brakes look beautiful on that thing.
Got a little bit more air intake. Just do a cyber coupe, basically. Dominic is amazing. He does really good stuff.
Wow.
That looks epic.
I like the purple or the black one. I have those three. The silver one's nice.
I love how simple the spoiler is.
Look at the freaking diffuser on that thing. What is that?
It's like a complete 90-degree angle. Yeah, I don't know why that would be it, but yeah, just sell that. Tesla,
Anyways,
come on.
Yeah, there's a bit of issue with this thing. Especially with the giant text. Especially with the fact that what happens if I own this thing and I drive it home? Or I have it drive me home and it misses the turnoff for my driveway or the road and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to give it a home base and then it has to figure out how to get back to your house? And if it keeps on missing the turn, is there a way that you can control it on the screen or on your phone? What happens when it has issues with finding an inductive charger on the road? I guess it just sits on the side of the road and waits for someone to tow it. How do you put it into tow mode? I guess you would do it through the screen. But I guess you need to steer it somehow, right? There's just a lot of unanswered questions with this product.
Yeah.
Thinking about either as a a small quote unquote business owner of buying, I don't know, 2 to 5 of these or whatever,
Mhm.
and trying to manage how to charge them and how they go about the city, uh, and or a giant fleet. What does that look like? Are you buying a parking structure? Because this is still a car. It's not a giant van, but it's still a car. You're gonna have to park it somewhere at some point. They're not just gonna rove around all day or all night, uh, because they're gonna run out of battery at some point. They're gonna need to charge somewhere, and more than likely, if you own hundreds of them and everyone else owns hundreds of them as well, or there's a whole fleet of them owned by Uber or whoever else, they're gonna have to go somewhere. So
Mhm.
this still maintains the issue, even though that they marketed, oh, you can turn all these parking lots into gardens and fields and all that. These vehicles still need to go somewhere.
That's true. Because that's something I think the Uber CEO mentioned when he was commenting on the whole robotaxi concept. Is he was like, I think Elon's misunderstanding that ride hailing is not a very consistent demand. It dies way down to nothing, and then it surges like crazy, and then there's huge rushes all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And when there's not a lot of demand, all these cars, like you said, are going to have to park somewhere and be
Sure.
charging and be ready to go. And then when there is a huge influx, we still have the same traffic problem, because then, like that situation, there will be a huge line of cars and people
Yep.
trying to get in. Whose car is whose? Is this
I
my
saw this
Uber?
situation.
They all look the same.
I saw this situation in SF last week, actually, right after we recorded the podcast. I went up there to meet some friends, and there's Waymos
Mhm.
driving around, and they were causing some traffic, unfortunately, because they were wanting to stop somewhere, either nearby a Chinese restaurant or near a parking lot or a park or something like that. And they didn't really pull over to the side because there wasn't anywhere to park. So they just stopped in the middle of the road, and then you've got all these trucks
Yep.
honking and trying to go around, but then the oncoming traffic's trying to come through. It became an issue.
And the
And so
people
that's
managing traffic can't just knock on the window and say, "Hey, we need you to pull around." You can't do that with a cybercab.
no. And then also to bring it a little bit more to what went on also with me with my or I guess supervised FSD experience. Uh, it actually did something wrong recently where it wanted to go south on a road and I was going north, or I was going anyways,
Oh no.
and it just wanted to go off on this turn, and if there's no steering wheel, you can't correct that. So oops, I guess you've added another 5 minutes to your commute because it couldn't read the road right.
And if
And
traffic's
so
bad, it could be way worse. It could be like, I just added 40 minutes to your ETA.
right. And that's the other thing is, does it have the knowledge of what me and Randy were talking about last week, where there's a nuance between, or maybe not a nuance, but at least some logical brain work going on of, do I take the freeway where it's going to be all clogged, or do I take some side streets that likely will save me a minute or two and also be a little bit more stimulating and enjoyable, and you'll be able to see a lot more stuff? Like, will you be able to choose a route in this thing, or are you just stuck getting in it and it drives and you're just supposed to sit there and watch a movie, even though it's going to take
Watch
even
Blade
longer to
Runner
get
right
yeah,
now.
right.
I'm running late. My
Watch
wife
the
needs to
Starship
get to the
launch right
hospital.
now. You better not.
You
Yeah.
need to watch the original Tron movie. I'm late.
So stuff like that pops up in my head after
Yeah.
watching this event and then thinking about it. Is there's a reality to the situation. I think, Randy, you put it pretty well. And in the fact that there's still a lot of things that we don't know. There's still a lot of things that need to be ironed out with these products. And I think it's still subjected to the same things that we've seen with all the other Tesla products, is they promise something, they give a
Mhm.
date, and even though if they give a little bit of grace to that date and see that, yeah, we're usually a little bit late, so maybe we add a couple of years. Even so, that's them admitting, okay, it might take a little bit longer, which actually might even take even longer than that.
Oh yeah.
And so who knows when these things come about. Uh, the news that unsupervised FSD is expected to come to Texas and California next year is interesting. But with my experience, I'm hoping that there's a lot more improvement, even though I've gotten, I think, 3 or 4 updates in the last week that's on the
Wow.
same update as actual Smart Summon, which I'm pretty sure they're just patches for a lot of bugs that are in this release. So
Yeah, I can't take next year seriously anymore. That's
yeah,
like my brain's initial gut impulse is just laugh as soon as they say next year. Like
I
I've
think
heard
this is
that
a
way
2030
too many
thing.
times. Yeah, I'm not convinced it's an ever thing, but yeah, I feel like it's been talked about so much. I'm kind of over it, but I guess I'm still interested and excited because I feel like the cab at least has a very, very good plan B that excites me. There's a very realistic, very practical way that they can transform that into a vehicle that people drive and buy. And if plan A works, oh, great. I'll turn my car into robo-taxi so I can drive my Aptera everywhere. That'll be great. Can't wait for that day. But because they've been so wrong on the timelines before, yeah, I'm not counting on plan A anymore. I'm looking at the plan B. There's a great plan B for the Cybercab. There's not a great plan B for the Robovan, which is, I guess, why the cab has all my attention. But I'm curious what you guys think with this shape and design. Like, how efficient do you think it is? Because that's my big interest with EVs. Is like, how many miles per kilowatt hour do you think that little car can get?
It being smaller is already a plus. Like,
Oh
that,
yeah.
I think it's going to be the most efficient range out of any of them by far.
Should be.
I can't give you a
Easily.
number because I don't know
You
enough
think
to.
worse than an Aptera, but better than a 3, somewhere in the middle?
Yes.
Well, if we're just talking hypotheticals, then yeah, because I don't even know Aptera's final numbers, and I don't. These guys don't even have final numbers. We just like keep seeing prototype. The prototype thing frustrates me a little bit, to be honest, because it's like we don't. I don't know. My bigger issue about the whole thing is just like, this is after watching last night. I'm like, I remember why I go, yep, this is why I'm going to get out of the stock. I wish them well, but I'm not about
I think
it.
they made a really cool movie set last night.
I
I think
think they're
the
very
event
good at being a
itself was
swordsman.
awesome.
Yeah.
And it would have been an awesome entertainment piece to go there and see all those things driving around. And Tesla made a really amazing movie set, but I don't want to invest in movie set companies.
I don't want to invest in future promises anymore by any caliber. Especially if they are actively saying our roadmap is autonomy. I'm like, well, cool. Not my roadmap. My values is stuff about things that I want to back. I have zero interest in autonomy.
How about you, Mike? Do you have an efficiency number prediction or guess?
I think you're spot on with the idea that it's in between an Aptera and a Model 3 because it very much has that size of Model 3.
Yeah.
And that shape on the front is very, I mean, it looks a little bit more convex, but somewhat similar to a Model 3, pretty much from the front all the way to near the top. And then it becomes a little bit more Model Y for the next, I don't know, third of it. And then becomes Aptera for the next third of it with the bit more slant to it. And so with that, I think they had in mind with this thing, they accepted, okay, we're only going to put 2 people in this. How do we make it look still like our lineup while optimizing for efficiency in aero? So that way this thing can go longer, in which range will be something that I'm looking out for with this vehicle. Are we looking for something in the hundreds, the 200s?
That's what's kind of crazy. It could really be anything, and they didn't mention it. Like, if you're just using it for around town and it'll top off with an inductive charger whenever it's not needed, like
it doesn't need that much range.
It could probably work with a 10 kilowatt hour battery pack, and they'd be like, yeah, that's fine. It doesn't need to go much more than
they'll make Aptera look inefficient in terms of the size of the battery, quote unquote.
Yeah. Well, I'm working on a little pop up here to kind of give you a side by
Nice little
side.
overlay between them. Oh, there we go. So right now, Drew's got the goldish looking
I like this.
Cybercab and I forget what color they called that for the Aptera, but
It was
the
some
gold Aptera as
UAE
well.
gold Aptera, yeah. But I see a lot of overlap, and I'm okay with that because I don't want Aptera to be alone. I think that the two-seater super efficient EV market should be like a whole segment, just like pickup trucks and SUVs. And it's a shame that Aptera is really the only one trying to make something that efficient at that low a price. And this is the closest thing to it, but there's still a ton of differences. But I don't know. Do you guys think Tesla was a little inspired?
No,
No.
I don't think they even think about Aptera.
I think
You
they
may be
went
right.
along the same thought process as Aptera with how do we make something efficient while also prioritizing the vehicle occupants and all that. And Tesla and their whole entire ethos is everything is on that screen in the middle. But there is a lot of not cheap, but cost efficient choices with the interior here that make it so it's a little bit more.
It's a very PR friendly way to say it. Cost efficient.
Yeah, right.
It's a very cost efficient design.
I think they probably went along the same road in a way. It's just they diverged on many different paths away from what Aptera probably optimized towards, right? And along with that, they're in totally different positions in their timelines. Aptera is trying to make their first vehicle. They're trying to be a company and trying to get an automotive product out there. Tesla's been there, done that. Now they're trying to go for something that is more autonomy focused.
Tesla's trying to get out of the car market.
Apparently so. At least the way that they're positioning it right now. And so that's something where I see that, okay, this is still in their design language, but there is some cues to show that, yeah, the idea of 2 doors, 2 seats, an armrest. Where do you put the cup holders if there are cup holders? Where are you are you optimizing foot area? What's the front dashboard look like? And then along with just the rest of the design on the exterior of, is there a frunk? Is there a trunk? Is there, how much space is in the trunk and all that? So it just becomes the thing that I'm really surprised by this thing is that the camera locations don't look too different from what we have in the 3s and Ys.
Yeah, they're pretty close. Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, is this actually more of a software problem than for what we're seeing in our cars today?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, I believe it's a software problem. Absolutely. Not even maybe.
Because if they're doubling down on where the camera location is for this car in relation to what they've already done with the sexy lineup,
yeah,
then it informs me that, well, maybe there's 2 cameras right here, right behind the front wheel, but
they might also just be covering themselves. They know if they put different camera positionings on the Cybercab, that maybe a bunch of people would freak out. Oh, they had to change the layout in order to make it autonomous. That means my car will never be autonomous. They're just trying to cover themselves.
right.
It could be. So these are a lot of questions that I have with it as well. Is what does this hardware on it reflect with my car?
Yeah.
Even though I don't expect to turn my car into a robo-taxi or anything like that. I like the design of this thing, but I'm not sold on the business idea of this product. No. I'm more sold on what this new Tesla product looks like and what it can offer. But that's pretty much it. Like I flirted with the idea very briefly this morning of, if I bought one, what would that look like? And then I thought, I'm also the guy that's looking at Doug DeMuro's Cars and Bids website every week to look at what great deals they have on their auction site for some very sporty Miatas and all that. Like, just a fun car to drive around that has a manual system. And it's in the opposite corner of what Tesla's trying to do. They're trying to get rid of the idea that you have to interface with the vehicle. Was it more input equals more error and all that? Where with the other cars on the market. It's no, we want to tailor the driving experience to the occupant, but in a different way, I guess. So I think overall that's where I was at the end of this. Is I like the look of the Cybercab or whatever it is. The toaster on wheels, I'm a little bit less enthusiastic over. Would have been nice to have more estimated specs. I mean, they don't have to lock in on specific numbers. Just here's what we're aiming for, and that gives
just dimensions would have been really handy.
Yeah, that too. In which maybe they change those as well. So
yeah, it's possible.
Stuff like that is what I would hope for information to come in the future on this product, in which I'm sure it's not going to end up in the same pile as the Roadster 2 and the Quad. Unfortunately, I really want that Quad to come out. It's the one thing that I'm still waiting for.
One less thing.
Probably the one Tesla that I would say, okay, I'm buying it day one that it's on the Tesla site. Like, I don't care what price it is, I'll buy it. It's just an amazing idea of an electric quad. But I digress. This thing is neat, I guess, is a decent summary.
But not neat enough to buy.
Yes.
There's no deposits, no orders.
You know, I
applaud them for that, by the way. That's fine.
I think I think you can overdo something in the not doing side. Like if there's all these inputs and controls and like there's too many buttons, I think you could overdo it on the opposite end where there's not enough going on, where it feels sterile. And this might be that for me now, where it's like it's too boring. Like I want to be excited when I get in the car. I don't want to be excited about the tech. I expect the tech to just work. I want to be excited that the software is working. Like that should be obvious. You know what I mean? We can appreciate that for the sake of it, all the same. And all our cars, they say, is capable of doing all the FSD.
Software works.
Wow, the software.
A certain Model Y feels targeted today, apparently.
So I don't
or
like,
iPhones.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of it being too sterile like this, because it doesn't provoke excitement for me. The only thing that's exciting is the potential of something. If we're just talking about a redesigned cabin, it's going to be kind of, it's sad if we're more excited about a redesigned cabin over anything else, just for the sake of redesign. This feels like change it just for the sake of changing it.
No, I disagree. They made it to be easier to clean.
I don't trust the cleaning system either, for that matter. I don't. There's so much.
Like, remember that cleaning bot from WALL-E?
Yes.
That.
Yeah. I just maybe that's it. I there's a lot of things I don't believe. And again, just like last night, prove me wrong, Tesla. I have my same gripes with Apple.
I was gonna say it's very parallel right now with your
I'm projecting my issues onto Tesla about Apple. But no, I like the, there it
is. Oh, sorry, Randy.
This is the next event. Beautiful.
Anyways, it seems like they're going a little bit too sterile for you, to where this is not something that is very evocative in terms of.
Well, you made a comment, Mike, and I agree with that comment. That like I want to be excited about the car I get in. I want something that's tailored for me, to me, something that invites me to get more engaged with the vehicle. I don't want to just sit there passively and be like, wow, the software works. Like I expect it to work. That's it. Like I this is too sterile. I would rather get behind something that gets the driver excited. And that's the thing. I want to drive. I want to be the driver because I don't trust. Ultimately, I don't trust the software right now. I don't think this is 2026 or 2027. I don't think it's in the 2020s. I think this thing's going to get. It's going to get roadblocks along the way at every level, from government to this to everything. Which is why everything. The first thing they show you when they start is that, like, oh, proof of concept, future discussions, not things that are coming. They have to watch what they say. So there's going to be an R3, a Tello truck, an Aptera on the road long before this ever comes on the road. And I'm way more excited about those 3 individual product lines by far. I would buy one of each before I would get excited about this. So that's it.
Well put, Randy. I agree.
This gets me so excited for Aptera. And also made me kind of relieved, because a common complaint I get on the Aptera videos is people say, oh, well, this isn't going to be able to compete with the $25,000 Tesla. And I'm like, yeah, it is, because it has a port. So that's handy.
And there's no $25,000 Tesla yet, so I don't believe that either.
No.
Yeah, based on the verbiage, I don't think there will be, at least for a long time.
But even then, inflation will adjust the way it adjusted on Cybertrucks. It will just, we'll never see it. And that's fine. But if they're not ready to ship yet, but say like an Aptera is, or literally any of the other ones, you get Aptera, you get Tello, you get R3, all what they have in common is small vehicles, which I equate that to that of the robo taxi here. I trust the other stuff more because they're the ones who want to get market share. Tesla's doing this just for the sake of doing it, and maybe I believe it to a degree that they believe that, like, no, we're gonna allocate our energy and resources towards autonomous driving, but like that's because they're already on top. Now they have room to play while everyone else is just trying to grow. Mm-hmm. So I get more excited about the guys that are trying to grow than the people who are already sitting at top, just experimenting with new ideas.
So Randy, imagine this interior, imagine the robo-taxi, but instead of this interior,
okay,
it has this interior. And the R3.
I'm in. Sold.
Feels a lot more adventurous.
The reason why I can't equate the two is because Rivian has made no discussion or interest of taxiing vehicles yet, and when they do, I'll fall out of love with them too.
Well, they mentioned in that same unveiling that they're going to focus more on autonomous driving.
Nah, I think that's just investor talk. Like, they're talking so far down the road. They need to get
that any autonomous driving talk.
That's my point, Drew. That's why I don't like any of this. They're one heartbeat away from saying AI, and I just don't want it. And I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Anyone, I guess, because that's just the facts of today. No one is profitable making robo-taxis, including Waymo. So
I don't know what we're trying. Like, everybody was so. This reminds me so much of the metaverse and crypto and all that, because everybody's trying to be first to something on the off chance that this one's the one that pops off. The way they were about Web 3.0. Like, everybody was really getting excited about that. I mean, that's why Elon bought Twitter, because he was going to convert to this big crypto exchange and this and the other. If you remember, that was one of his big talking points.
Oh, yeah. It was going to be a payment service that will rival PayPal and Venmo.
Now, just despite PayPal for everything that had happened to him in the past with his original X.com, he was going to make it a payment service and the Everything app to very heavily focus on blockchain technology specifically. That was the verbiage he used. I'm like, oh my God. And so when that stopped, now everybody's throwing oh my God. And now they're putting other efforts behind AI. The same AI that's supposed to maybe power these things. You hear about this? They're building I didn't even know about this AI center computer center thing in Memphis that is
Who?
to help Elon for XAI.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah,
Well, Tesla put one in Giga Texas as well.
but so they're trying to do all this same stuff with like AI, and it's just it's too. There it is. There it is.
I just love that.
I literally saw that caption too. Was
That's
that like,
funny.
what's an irony?
Well, I mean,
This
come
AI,
on, like,
this AI talking autonomous driving and everything like that. It's too much. It's too futuristic for me to see. What?
just see Grok 3 and water access grid stability. I'm like, we're like, kind of like, I don't know why or how, but somehow we're going to disturb the water supply so that we can type in terrible AI generated images on Twitter Premium. Grok 3. They're putting Grok in the water.
To be fair, there is a lot of water just hanging out in Tennessee these days.
Oh, wow,
Awful.
Mike. That was good.
That was
That's
awful.
usually the joke Randy would make. I'm impressed.
I'm
Well,
channeling my inner Randy today, I guess.
while we're putting on our tinfoil hats, you want to hear my idea?
For the robotaxi or for the AI center?
Robotaxi tinfoil hat. Chris from Dirty Tesla, awesome channel by the way, snagged a photo of the camera feed at the top, the front-facing cameras on the top of the robotaxi.
Okay.
And
Hmm.
it's the hardware 3 camera layout, not hardware 4.
Well then, as the table turns, the turntables.
So my tinfoil hat is that all of them were remote controlled. This was not using version 13 or any kind of FSD. There's
You're thinking
engineers
this
that are
whole entire event, Drew, had remote controlled robots, remote controlled cars, and possibly remote controlled Elon.
Well, he did say he's an alien, so I guess it's possible.
Hmm.
But that's
Wow.
my theory. These aren't coded to like analyze the surroundings. Like, I wonder if those cabs were driving around, like if you jumped out in front of them, would they autonomously know to stop, or would an engineer see it and just like kill the throttle?
I don't know. I mean, it's interesting that a lot of these speculations come from those that were there, like the kilowatts and was dirty. Yeah, you said Dirty Tesla was there, then captured that image.
Mhm.
So a lot of people there who were supposedly there to watch a lot of this interesting, innovative tech noticed that there might be a lot of smoke and mirrors occurring with it.
I think so. I think the main goal of the event was sell people on the idea, the vision. It doesn't matter if all the hardware actually does everything we say it's going to do. So
Right.
they kept that theme from the Cybertruck event. We don't know how it's going to go 500 miles, but it's going to go 500 miles.
Or Autonomy Day.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, this is definitely a lot cooler than just a PowerPoint presentation, but I think
With a
that
video.
they were all remote control. Maybe if you open the hatch on them, you'd find a little engineer in the back with the little
Pay
screen.
no attention to the man behind the curtain.
There's a little guy back there. He had to be short so he could fit.
Not the little guy.
Your little guy fell off.
You dropped your little guy.
Yeah, there you go.
So, Aptera's future is secure.
I think, yeah, this only reinforced my thoughts on the rest of the car market. Of like, okay, Tesla's doing their own thing. Good for them. Like, you pursue it. I'll be watching from the slightly sidelines in my Model Y that's trying to take alternate routes that don't make sense for my commute to work. And
Next
hope for the
year.
best. Meanwhile, I'll be watching the competition making some pretty cool products
Heck
that
yeah.
we can indulge in and actually enjoy the experience of it and control a lot more variables with it.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I'm glad Tesla's doing what they're doing. Even if I have my doubts about it, I think it's worth trying. It's a noble
Right.
thing to pursue. It will definitely and probably already has saved many lives. And there's many people who can't afford to own their own car and are just looking for the cheapest possible way to transport themselves, in which case a robotaxi would be perfect for them.
Mhm.
So I'm happy that Tesla's kind of finding their niche and going after that. But similar to Randy, I echo that feeling of I don't get as excited by that. That's not as pump like that doesn't get me pumped thinking about just a vehicle that drives around people all day. Although I understand the mindset of why that would be better for the environment or better for people's pockets and stuff. But I got into Tesla because I liked the idea of efficient, independently owned transport. And sounds like a lot of great ideas are out there now that are going to be open for market share because uh, Tesla's kind of just going to run the course with the models they got.
Mhm. I am interested in seeing now that with the slide that I showed a while back of we still have a long way to go from one of Tesla's. I think this was their investor day
Yeah.
last year or the year before. It seems like the first two vehicles on the left that have the cover are what we saw pretty much, or at least what they were envisioning what
Mm-hmm.
was going to be underneath these, being the Robotaxi or the Cybercab or whatever it is, and the Robovan or whatever you want to call it. But it seems like they still have another idea. I mean, they've got plenty of ideas probably behind the curtain. But it's interesting that there are 3 vehicles here and that are covered in this lineup, and we
Mm-hmm.
were showed 2, which makes me think, what is this third one that still looks like a sedan looking vehicle? Is that the Roadster? Like,
Yeah,
what?
probably.
I guess maybe that's my question for you guys. What's
Okay.
next? Because Tesla almost put a giant barrier on, maybe not barrier, but at least they put a very awkward street sign on this road that they're on that pretty much says stop and don't go further with making a lot of these different vehicles, in my opinion, where it seems like they're going to go all in on the Cybercab and Robovan.
Mm-hmm.
But what comes next in their lineup then? And is that going to be more robo related or more cyber related or more sexy related? Like, what is this other car or other cars that might be a roadster that's coming up?
I think a whole lot of waiting is what's next. I think what's on the website now, they had their whole We Robot page go live.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be here for a long time. This is but it's interesting how they spec it. They're like, look, van, taxi, bot, everything. You give us your contact info. And by the way, we have cars now that you can totally buy FSD for 0% APR. Please buy them. Experience. So they were carefully constructed this page.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think they did kind of cover all the major segments that they've explained they're interested in. Only other potential, I don't know. I still want like a van you could drive, but I guess Tesla would be the kind of company that would be like, no, we will only do a van if it's completely 100% autonomous and there's no backup. There's no easy way to add a steering wheel or pedals. I'm like, yeah, I guess sounds like Tesla. But yeah, my guess is that they mentioned in the shareholder deck they still have more affordable models they plan on launching next year.
Okay.
It'd be really cool if that's the Cybercab plus pedals and wheel. That I don't know if that's going to be ready by then, but
Mhm.
that would be awesome if it is. What's probably more likely is they're just going to scale down the Model 3 even more. Just take out more things. It'll be no heated or ventilated seats. They go with that textile fabric that they already launched in Mexico. They take out the ambient lighting. They take out the rear display. They take out, I don't know, the powered lift gate. There's a bunch of stuff they could just scrap on the existing vehicles and just say, okay, now it's $5,000 cheaper or whatever.
Right.
That could be as basic as they're talking about for what's next, or we have future models that'll be more affordable. It might be that simple, but
I do not
yeah.
think we saw any of those 3 vehicles last night that are covered.
Really?
Yep.
Any
You
of
think
them.
that these are all exclusively
That
driver
look
focused?
look at the van.
Mhm.
You could see a hood.
Yeah, but I wouldn't look too much into the teaser image. That could just be a template, right?
I mean, why would you go out of your way to do all that just to put a template?
Well, because I feel like if they just put a cloth over the
Are
actual
these not the
Robo
same
van,
vehicles on the left and right?
yeah, they just pasted it. It's the
Exact
same one
same
from
faces.
Battery Day. But
I think what
don't
I'm
know.
aiming for in these images, Randy, is the intention that they're covering 3 vehicles. And that we did just see 2 vehicles last night, but I like your speculation of, are these actually the 2 vehicles that they intended on teasing and then showing off last night?
I don't
Or
think so. That was a whole robot event. These other cars serve consumers, not some dystopian future of robot autonomy. I think we didn't see any of the 3 vehicles last night.
okay.
I hope
like
you're
that.
right.
Yeah. I like that idea.
I don't think you are, but I hope you are.
Did they update the website?
Well, this isn't on the website. This is just a slide from a presentation.
No, if
but
we look at the website, it's just
there is a
Wii
Wii
Robot.
Robot section on the website, but yeah.
this is what you get greeted with when you type in Tesla.com.
You notice the Tesla Roadster page is
Oh.
still on the website, and it's exactly the way it was in 2017. They haven't changed a thing.
If I go to menu, vehicles,
Scroll down.
semi roadster. It's still there.
Hasn't changed. It's the exact
You can
same
still
specs.
reserve.
$50,000. We'll take your money right now. That was also an amazing event. Just to give a little perspective.
I like that you bring that up. Will the Robo Taxi event go the same way as the semi and roadster event?
I think so.
Where we see it and then we wait for many years for something to come out of it. And the only thing that we've seen actually is the semis sparsely on the road, mainly because they haven't actually built a mass production building for it yet. And so they're having to piece it together slowly. But
it's coming together. But yeah, I see them just about every time I go to work now. I know my route is biased. Most people don't see them.
You're in the main corridor.
But yeah, I pretty much every time I go down there, I see at least one. But they did say in the event that production for the semi would start in 2019, and it's like, yeah, they're kind of doing it now in 2024. So that gives you some perspective on Tesla and their timelines. And that was just manufacturing. That wasn't even software. I mean, at the event, they brag a lot about how the Tesla semis will be autonomous and they won't have drivers in them. So you'll just be able to beat the price of freight because you'll have all these semi trucks driving around autonomously. And the Tesla semi still in 2024 doesn't have autopilot. It doesn't have basic lane keep.
Mm-hmm.
So it's forgive me for having a hard time believing their claims, but yeah, maybe I really don't think there will be much more vehicle unveils after this.
It's time to move on, gentlemen. We're done with Tesla. It's time to find something else to get excited about.
It might be refreshes. It might be some
refreshes don't excite me. They will just be incremental, necessary upgrades. I want new vehicles that shape the future, not concepts of vehicles that can shape
Like
the
this
future.
one. Bring the ID buzz.
Is that a gotcha you just did to me?
It's a very terrible gotcha.
Randy's face when that came up. And then Mike do the JD Vance one. It's beautiful. Good job.
Jeez.
Oh, the red's nice.
The red is nice.
Hey, isn't the R3 a concept though, Randy? Come on.
Who said anything about the R3?
You said you don't want to see concepts.
What do you think the realistic, this for both of you, what's the realistic time frame that we would get these taxis, these robo anything on the road, as opposed to getting an R2 and an R3 on the road?
I think R2 will definitely be first, but it depends on your definition of on the road, because my personal belief for a while now is that they will get them to work in very limited jurisdictions and conditions.
You're talking about Tesla?
Yeah, I think Tesla will have robo-taxis in select cities that approve them when the weather is nice.
Vegas will be definitely one of them.
That's okay. So that fine acrobatic wordsmithing you just did is exactly my point. Whereas like getting an R2 and R3, Atello and Aptera in consumers' hands, it just is. It will be. As opposed to whiff and win, asterisk this, asterisk that, fine print at the bottom. Like I'm talking no crap consumer using products. What do you think is more realistic to happen? And I'm saying all these other vehicles will come out long before the robo stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by getting excited for actually moving on to the next thing, where they're ready to get to work. What the other people lack is infrastructure, maybe some funding here and there, depending on which company we're referring to. Whereas Tesla, what they're lacking is software and government approval on some stuff. Different beasts, man. Those are different beasts.
That's true. Software development and regulatory approval are much, much bigger hurdles than, there's nothing the Rivian R2 or R3 or the Aptera are doing that is pending legalization. It's not like
it's mainly infrastructure issue.
Yeah, well, they need a place to build them, but they said they're building R2 at normal, so the factory for the first R2 vehicles is already up. It's just the assembly line that needs to be
put together. To build it out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after these hurricanes, I don't know what's actually going to be sticking around.
Well, it's in Georgia.
Illinois is okay.
Yeah. Well, Georgia is being built up, but in that time, Illinois just has tornadoes.
We've seen it's a lot easier for me to believe because we've seen many vehicles, including from Rivian, that have been designed, unveiled, mass-produced, and delivered. It's like we know that is doable. Getting robo-taxis approved on a nationwide scale has not been done, which is why we're like, it's ambitious, but there's so many variables that are outside of their
to be
control.
Clear, and my stance hasn't changed on this. I want this to succeed. I want this to work. Even if I'm not an investor anymore, I want this to work because it has a pretty wide ripple effect that can change things and in our lifetime, that we'll see in our lifetime. So I want it to work, but it's not even that I'm skeptical. There are things, 100% there are things I'm skeptical about when it comes to Tesla. But it's all that other stuff outside of Tesla that they don't have control over, that they have to bend the knee to, that makes me go like, oh my God, this is going to be forever. Like it's too, and even for all the right reasons. Cause like put yourself in the government's shoes, if you will, just spend money, but except there, I'm joking. That was a joke. But when it comes to the safety, when it comes to the safety part of it, like you got to make for dang sure that this is rock solid, tight, and secure and safe for any and all people, especially when we start talking about children. Now, you're like, oh, well, no kids go in this car scene. Like, when you got to think of the children and all that, right?
Well, and the crowd data is not supporting what they're claiming. Like there's user data that is testing FSD in its current form, and they're getting like maybe on average 60 miles, 80 miles between interventions. And maybe it's off because people are disengaging when they don't need to. So let's say they're at like 1,000 miles between intervention. That's still nowhere near close to what you need.
That's a long drive without intervention. Like,
yeah,
that's a long distance to go.
Sure. But if a robotaxi is driving all day because it's 5 times, 10 times more useful, you're going to hit 1,000 miles once a week. So if it needs a critical intervention once a week, you can't be deploying that at scale. The government's not going to allow that.
Critical intervention is definitely a good term for it, because I turn off the auto, or I guess FSD, unsupervised or whatever, right before I get to my work, because it pretty much routes me to the front gates.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I can't go to the front doors of the building. I need to park the car. So I have to disengage it. So that's more of a non-critical situation if I'm at the end of the route. And actually, I think it does recognize in those times of like, it doesn't flash up the image of what went wrong. Let us know with a voice message or whatever. So I think that's maybe indicative of it. But yeah,
because a taxi would just drop you off. It wouldn't park, right?
Right. And you don't need to go to the parking lot. You could go through the main gates or front door or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a really good thing to consider as well, Drew, is what does the public data say about the current product on the roads? And how does that inform, or I guess shed some spotlight to their claims of unsupervised FSD coming to Texas and California next year, along with a Cybercab coming out before 2027? And then who knows when the RoboVan even exists.
Because to get to the point where you could actually deploy it at scale, you can't just be as safe as a human driver, because now you have that one line of code driving thousands of cars. It needs to be substantially safer than a human. And you're betting, if you're believing the timelines, or if you're trusting that Tesla's going to get there, you're assuming that with the current hardware stack, they're going to be able to use vision only to basically multiply the safety driving performance of FSD by a matter of 100, 1,000, 10,000. You're expecting it's going to get like 10,000 times better than what it is right now. And there's just so many edge cases that pile up, especially when you want to scale it mass, which is why I believe they're going to eventually compromise and just do it in select regions. And they'll end up kind of taking the Waymo route, where it's like there's a human that could remotely fix it in an emergency, but it's just in the cities that allow it. And when he says California and Texas, I bet he really means Austin and San Francisco. I don't think he means the entire state.
Drier cities. And a lot more controllable. And that's definitely where other companies like Zoox, Neuro, and Waymo have targeted, in which they've already got tech that can deal with bug splatter and rain and inclement weather, bad visibility, camera placement, where this thing is more, it's weird because it has the scar tissue of the sexy lineup, quote unquote, affecting it, where they could go the Waymo route and add a lot more sensors and cameras to different locations, because it doesn't have to look super sleek. It just has to get the job done. It's got to be a lot more utility focused than aesthetically focused, in which aesthetically it looks great, but if it means that you don't get the autonomous driving feasibility, capability, and smoothness that rivals are doing right now, I mean, heck, even Cruise had a hard time with it, but they were still able to produce a business out of it, and they had cameras and sensors all over the place with that thing. That's what makes me a little bit more concerned about this then, is it's very minimal. And the competition has a lot more that they can fall back against on their sensors. Where this thing, if you splatter a camera, cover something up, it's lost pretty much, from what I can tell, at least a fifth to an eighth of its viewing capability.
Mm-hmm. It's a pretty fragile system. It was very predictable on my road trip. I knew exactly when the system was going to panic and abort and say take over immediately, just based on the sunlight. I could tell when the sunlight was getting to a certain level. I'm like, it's going to panic now because the road's going right into it. And it was like, take over. That's how we were able to catch it on video, because it kept doing it so consistently.
Good thing you avoided that pothole, huh?
Is this week
Thank
just
goodness.
burn Drew?
I'm okay.
What did I do this week?
Sponsorship? Or was that last week? That was last week.
That was
was
last
last.
week. If anything, I shifted it to you, Mike. I started burning you. At least I felt like I did. I'm sorry if I'm not giving equal attention.
I feel like you need to give
Equal
me more
abuse
attention,
between
Randy.
the two.
I need more
I'm,
attention.
I'm sorry if I'm not giving equal abuse to all this.
Equal
I
abuse.
I promise to be more aggressive with it.
All right,
Fair.
gents. Final thoughts?
No,
Looking at the no, just no.
just
I
no.
brought it up before for video watchers, but comparing what they were showing off with the boring tunnel taxi
That's
system,
better. I
it
like that.
definitely has a lot better seating than whatever this giant
And I can
Hoover.
see out of it.
Yeah.
It's funny how when you're in the tunnel underground, they want you to have all this visibility, but then when you're driving out in the woods camping, they cover up
Or in the
all
city.
Yeah. Then they cover it up. Can't see a thing. Yeah, this is a similar idea.
There is similar ideas here.
Mm-hmm. All right, folks.
Thanks for joining
Thanks
us.
all. Have a good one. Bye-bye.